So my number one film that shaped my sense of adventure is Groundhog Day from 1993. And this is a film directed by Harold Ramis, starring Bill Murray and Andy McDowell. And the IMDb plot summary is a narcissistic, self-centered weatherman finds himself in a time loop on Groundhog Day, and the day keeps repeating until he gets it right.
Happy Groundhog Day belated, by the way. We just passed
That's
it.
right. We did. Yeah, we just passed it. Actually, I watched the movie on Groundhog Day. It lined up
Me too,
nicely with
probably.
prepping for this film or for this podcast. So for me, we talked about a lot of different sense of adventures. And we've touched on some of these themes before, but I think what this movie really encapsulate well is, you can be an adventurous person in your everyday life by trying new things, talking to new people, just getting outside of your comfort zone a little bit. It does not have to be something hard. You don't have to be hanging off the side of, the Burj Khalifa, or be strapped to the front of a car in the middle of like an African desert getting driven around. You can do this in your everyday life. And what this movie really shows is a character who has like no sense of adventure. Like in the beginning, he's like annoyed. He has to even go to Pennsylvania to cover the Groundhog Day ceremonies. He's saying, "Oh, I don't want to." He's making up excuses for not going to dinner with his colleagues. He's very dismissive of everyone who tries to even just make small talk. Like he's very insular in his own worldview, honestly. And he's not happy, not a nice person. No one likes him. It's not like he's living a great life. He's miserable because he can't kind of get out of his own box. And the time loop that he gets stuck in, I think originally just out of boredom, right? He's living the same day over and over again. So it kind of forces him to have to look, I have nothing else to do. I might as well just kind of talk, to these other people that normally I would, never want to even care to look at in the eye. He starts becoming a better person and realizing that actually is the joys in life you find just from little small things that don't have to be these big grand adventures you go on, because he doesn't ever leave this town, this day. Like, just like sometimes, I feel like I'm living the same day over and over again as well. Like in a way, days can be monotonous and your life can feel monotonous sometimes. But again, you can get that sense of adventure just by, talking to someone on the subway or the grocery store line, or, trying a new restaurant that you never tried. Like those can be adventurous too. Like, do you kind of get what I'm saying here a little
I
bit? Does that
totally
resonate?
agree. It totally resonates. And I often thought about that because, when I'm on my travels, as we talked about in the Catch Me If You Can case, I do go all out of myself to, sit at the bar by myself, make conversation with people. And often I've gotten invited to a party or something, by just talking to strangers. And then when I come back, and I was like, I should bring more of that attitude to my day-to-day life in the place that I live in, which is actually quite hard to do,
It's very hard. Yeah.
One still does it, but not to that same degree. So yeah, the message of the movie really resonates that you can find joy and adventure in the littlest of things. And some of that can be personal passions, which I think, this podcast is proof of that. You and I doing this, but
that's right. Yeah.
I think you draw a lot more meaning when you actually engage with other people in small to meaningful ways. And yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, no, it's actually, I should have asked you at the outset, had you seen this film before? And
I
what
had
was
seen
your
it in bits and
history with the
pieces,
film?
and yeah, and to be honest, like I had sort of in my mind maybe even dismissed this movie that, oh, another grumpy Bill Murray character and always the same, and I'm okay on him, like
Right, I
appreciate
know you're
him
not a big
for
fan. Yeah.
everything. Yeah, and I don't know, watching this movie this time sort of kind of blew me away. I feel like I had a Groundhog Day moment with Bill Murray and this movie of just like living in it, and then by the end of it being really moved by it, that I think this movie is going to be in my rotation now, which is
Oh,
so strange to say that it's been this iconic
yeah.
movie, for so many people, and I'm just kind of entering that zone, even though I had watched it before. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it this time.
Oh, that's cool. That's good. That's good to hear. Yeah, I mean, I saw this film. I remember when it came out, like in theaters, like as my family would go to see it. I was a huge Bill Murray fan as a kid, and still am now. But especially as a kid, he was one of my favorite, comedic actors. And I think this is almost like the perfect role for him, because
It's perfect role for him.
he is so good at playing like a sarcastic, sardonic, like uncaring asshole. But underneath him, there's like some sensitive side. And it comes across in all his performances in different ways. But this movie, you really see him transform by the end.
Totally.
He
Pulled
becomes
out.
Yeah, it's full. He's like, now he is, more of like a softie, or more of a more well-rounded person. I'll say that. And I just really love his performance, and I think too is the way they deal with him and Andy McDowell in the film too, where he's basically like not interested in her at all in the beginning, and then when he's stuck in the Groundhog Day situation, starts kind of feeling, oh, maybe I can kind of make her fall in love with me, basically. So he cheats at doing that by learning all these things about her and trying to like do all these things, but it doesn't end up working because that's not how you get someone to fall in love with you. It has to be they love you for who you are, not because of the way they you're treating them. And it's not only because when at the end he gives up on kind of trying to do that, becomes a better person, then she falls for him. I just think that is a great lesson that he learns in this film too, and is something just again as kind of ties back to another part of this film too, around like the good and bad, or not good and bad, the healthy and unhealthy forms of adventure. Like when he starts out, he's being adventurous by stealing a car, or robbing a bank, or trying to eat all this food, or just spending a bunch of money. Like those are forms of being adventurous, but they're very hollow, right? It's not, he's not being a better person. He's not stretching himself in those things. He's giving into his like more like carnal desires, I guess. But it's only when he puts those aside and starts like learning to play the piano and learning to help people in the town and understand who they are. That's like the healthier type of adventure, which is something sometimes to remind yourself of too, because it's kind of easy to get caught up in like, oh, adventure, just going out and like going crazy one night. It's like, yeah, sort of, but it's not as meaningful potentially to you growing as a person as, talking to that person in line at the grocery store and learning a little bit about them, or going to a new restaurant. So I like that message in this film too. I just think this movie's got a lot going on, even though it's very simple and enjoyable in what it's trying to do. But I mean, you can read, there's really long like analysis of this, religious allegories and life lessons, all these things. There's a lot of stuff going on in this film. But for me, I just always viewed it as a way to be like, yeah, I could be adventurous in my everyday life, to your point, right? It's easy to do it when you're traveling, or easier than, just going to the same coffee shop every day. You can still find a little bit of adventure in that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, the whole Andy McDowell relationship and the whole slap montage is actually really fun, but also very meaningful. And yeah, this movie is way deeper than I thought it would be. And I couldn't agree. It's the perfect role for him. So I was very happy to rewatch it and actually really like it and love it.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.